Jammers still with an amazing strikeout to walk ratio. And struck out 33 against just 7 walks. Here's the first place Jammers look to extend their game-and-a-half lead over the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. Journal of Tuesday, May 6, 1941 gives 2 big stories. The excitement of the dedication of the new stadium, war which is occurring over in Europe, which to date America has been able to keep out of. The headlines are interspersed between baseball and German and Nazi invasion. Such were the winds of war which were circulating in early 1941. One of the other articles that appeared in that first day paper was the announcement of the broadcast via radio WJTN to all those listeners who would like to see the game but will be unable to be present. This was historic. The first game of the stadium would be sponsored by the Fraternal Order of the Eagles over local station WJTN. The love affair between baseball and radio goes back to the 1940s. One of the early pioneers of radio is Jerry Lawson, who became sports director of WJOC and later owner of the Jamestown Falcons in 1956. His early
that was
you had to be one of the first to I mean, did they cover it in the 40s? Did they cover radio?
No, once in a while a game was broadcast. Al Spokes used to do a game once in a while on WJTN, when particularly playoff games. The playoff games with Olean in 1941, which you'll remember very well. And then Al Spokes went from here to Springfield, Vermont to have his own station. He always opened his sports show on WJTN with the bugle call, and Al Spokes speaking with reports on sports. As a little kid, as I mentioned, playing these baseball games, I used to pretend I was broadcasting these games as I would play them. And so when I sat down to do my first away game, reconstructed from telegraph wires, it was like I had done this all my life, because I had always imagined that this game was going on in front of me while I was trying to do it. And that was fun. And every once in a while, things would go wrong. The machine would stop. There would be a break in the line. And, well, they were playing in Hornell. And Hornell didn't realize how many rainstorms they had, because I had to say it was raining and hold that game up and to go along. But that's what we had to do to make it up. And I was explaining at lunch, the games when they came in on the telegram wire, it would say B1 OS, ball one outside. And then the next thing would be S1C, strike one called. And each pitch came in that way. And so you had to create the game. You couldn't just say ball one swinging, or ball one outside, or strike one swinging. So you had to create the game about the pitcher looking in and getting a sign and doing all of these things, and try to make the game alive, so that the people who were listening to it could feel that they were at the ball game, or at least know what was going on. There were several that just said F7, fly out to left field. And some left fielders will never know what great catches they make, coming in and doing that kind of thing. But that's the way you had to do it.
For over 40 years, the Jamestown area has been blessed with the voice of Jim Roselli, yet in 1956, he teamed up with Max Robinson and became the sportscaster for the Jamestown Falcons. And Jim has some early recollections.
And sometimes I never did a game off the ticker tape, but I remember watching Max Robinson do ticker tape. It was interesting to see how you stay a batter or two behind and how you created the crowd noise.
How did you do it? Tell us.
Well, the background, you get the sound effects. Mm-hmm. And of course you know what's coming up, so you try to play accordingly. If there's a hit, you play a little crowd noise that sounds like something's going on. But I think you stayed at least a batter or two behind so that you could anticipate the excitement coming up. But that was, you know, when you look at the pioneer days of those kind of broadcasts, it's interesting. Of course, GR had a fellow named Roger Baker, if I remember correctly, who did it, and Max came from the Buffalo area. But again, what has changed in the last few years? PA, after a year and a half experience in Harrisburg. It was 3 months in Warren, and then I heard a rumor that John Horan, who was an announcer at the time, also went to college with me at St. Lawrence, was going to go into the insurance business, and there was an opening. So I quickly called. I went up, talked to Cy, got my first full-time job, September 1951. Wednesdays, if I remember, it was every Wednesday we did a game a week. It was sponsored by Fort Pitt Beer, and I used to love to say their slogan, Fort Pitt, that's it.
Now, were you the play-by-play?
Yes.
You were everything, or did you have another?
No, I was everything. Mm-hmm. I went to out-of-town games. Out-of-town games. I did every stadium in the Pony League. I went to Batavia, Hornell, Wellsville, Olean, Bradford, Hamilton, Lockport. Did I leave anybody out? I don't think so. The Pony League at that time. Yes. And the broadcasting booths, Greg? Yeah. Very interesting broadcasting booths. They really weren't what you'd call the modern day booths. The one in Lockport was like a little shack for just two people to sit in. And it was just enough room in there to have two chairs, and then there was a counter. I'll never forget starting the game, and then it rained. And the rain was washing away my scorecard. Because there was no room. Literally no room. And there were other wonderful incidents, you know, of doing games from other broadcasting booths. Hamilton, Ontario was a booth way up over the stadium. But you know, that's when Greg Malevy, Jake Pittler, you talk about Jake Pittler. Sure, there was Don Zimmer in the thing, and of course some of the great names from the 5-0 game. I'll never forget it, because it was shortly thereafter, after not following his career much, but all of a sudden he's on the roster of the Detroit Tigers. Was Frank Larry. Remember, he became a 20-game winner for the Tigers. I did a game where he pitched and won 5-0. And it's just amazing when you think of the personalities you were involved in.
That was fun. Broadcasting the games was a great thrill. I was never able to play the game. I was never good enough for that, which was a great disappointment to me. But broadcasting the games was next best. And I have never, ever lost my love for the game of baseball.
But I still take the attitude of going to work thinking it's the first day. Yeah. And I'll do what I can with it and make it exciting. I do it, Greg. I'll end by saying, you want to bring out the personality of the person. You can deal with facts and you can deal with things, but you want an audience to enjoy who is this man, and how does he feel in other situations, what are his relationships with other players or with this, all of these things. You want to bring out the entire person.
One of the real deans in Western New York sports radio was Ralph Hubble, Pete Hubble's father. And he put this journey down history lane in perspective.
That you shouldn't live in the past. It's dangerous. But to visit it is just a wonderful experience.